Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Explainer. I am genuinely so pumped to have you here today because we're going to unpack something completely fascinating in the decentralized finance space. Today, we're diving into ERAGE, specifically Part 1, the Ratchet token that only clicks one way. If you're a total newcomer to DeFi, or maybe you're just trying to wrap your head around this crazy mechanism, you are in the exact right place. We're going to break this down so it's super simple and crystal clear, so let's jump right in. Right off the bat, though, before we get to the fun stuff, I've got to give you a quick, mandatory heads up. This explainer is strictly for educational purposes only. It is absolutely not financial advice. ERAGE is an experimental DeFi protocol, and cryptocurrency carries a very real risk of loss. So please, always do your own research. All right, with that out of the way, I want you to think about a pretty big question. What if an investment actually worked for you while you slept? I mean, think about almost any traditional investment out there. To win, you have to do all the heavy lifting, right? You got to buy at the exact right time, sell at the perfect moment, stare at stressful charts all day, and just try not to panic. The work is totally on you. Well, ERAGE attempts to completely flip that script. With this protocol, every single transaction across the entire network, whether it's yours, some random strangers, or even an automated trading bot's, clicks a mathematical mechanism forward. And here is the kicker. Absolutely nobody can crank that mechanism backward. Not the devs, not a giant whale, and not even a massive market crash. Today, we're going to see how that's physically possible. So here's our game plan for today. We'll start with the ERAGE advantage, look at its dual-backed smoothie setup, and figure out exactly how that ratchet works. After that, we'll break down the 2.2% tax engine, the super simple holding strategy, and finish up with a transparent look at the risks. Okay, Section 1. The ERAGE advantage. Let's look at the foundation here. To really get ERAGE, I want you to picture a standard mechanical socket wrench, just like the real tool in your garage. A ratchet token is a system where the backing behind each token physically only moves in one direction, up. Click, click, click. It literally cannot slip backward. That clever mechanical idea is the exact inspiration for how this entire token functions. Let's unpack the core basics. ERAGE calls itself a dual-backed ratchet token on Base. What does that mean? First, it lives on the Base network, which is the one connected to Coinbase. It's famous for being lightning fast and having tiny fees. Those cheap fees are basically why a high-frequency system like this can even exist. Second, it's dual-backed, which just means every single ERAGE token is supported by a basket of 2 real assets, not just one. And finally, it's pretty cool to note that this isn't pushed by some faceless megacorporation. It's actually community built by a developer known as Kushi, and it acts as a bridge connecting 3 distinct DeFi communities: EMP, Plazm, and Ultramoney. Moving right along to Section 2, the Dual-Backed Smoothie. Let's peek inside that basket. So when we say ERAGE is backed, we mean that every token you hold is an actual claim on something real that a smart contract is securely holding for you. So, what's inside the basket? Think of it like a freshly blended smoothie made of 2 very specific ingredients. Ingredient 1 is eShare. This is a deflationary token on the Base network with a small, strictly fixed supply, meaning it's scarce. Ingredient 2 is RAGE, which is another deflationary token, this time from the Ultramoney ecosystem. If you hold that ERAGE smoothie, you essentially hold a claim on both of these underlying ingredients. And right at launch, the math is perfectly clean and symmetrical. 1 ERAGE token equals exactly 1 eShare plus 1 RAGE. That's baseline 0. All right, Section 3, how the ratchet works. This is the absolute heart of the protocol. Okay, I need you to listen really closely here because this is literally the single most important distinction in this entire explainer. ERAGE has what's called a backing ratio, which is simply the quantity of eShare and RAGE that each ERAGE token commands. The ratchet mathematically guarantees that this ratio only ever goes up. But, and this is a massive but, the ratchet does not guarantee a rising dollar price. eShare and RAGE are independent assets, right? Their prices float on the open market. So the golden rule here is the ratio of tokens inside your smoothie is guaranteed to go up, but their actual dollar value can absolutely fall with the market. Anyone who promises you that the ERAGE dollar price only goes up is completely wrong. It's the quantity of backing that only goes up. So just to visualize that ratio increasing, let's say after weeks of sustained protocol activity, you check your wallet. That exact same single ERAGE token you started with might now command 1.5 eShare and 1.5 RAGE. You didn't do a single extra thing. The ratchet did the work in the background to increase your underlying quantity. Which brings us to Section 4.
The 2.2% tax engine, let's look at what physically turns that wrench.
So every single time someone mints new ERAGE, and every time someone redeems ERAGE, the protocol takes a 2.2% tax. That tax is the engine. It's sliced into 4 distinct pieces. The first 2 slices, that's 0.13% fixed backing and 0.69% linear backing, combine to equal about 0.82%. This chunk goes straight into the ERAGE backing pool, which directly raises the backing per token. That right there, that's the literal click of the ratchet. The remaining 2 slices, 0.69% eShare burn and 0.69% rage burn, combine to roughly 1.38%. This permanently destroys that eShare and rage. Poof, gone, making whatever supply is left in the world scarcer for everybody.
A totally brilliant way to think about this is like a highway toll booth. Part of every single toll drops into a shared community vault that all the drivers own a piece of. And the other part of the toll literally removes a few cars from the road forever. Either way, the people who stick around end up with a steadily growing slice of a mathematically shrinking pie. And remember, the coolest part? This tax is firing on other people's transactions, not just yours.
Next up, Section 5, no staking, just HODL. Let's talk about what you actually have to do. You know how a lot of DeFi protocols are basically a part-time job? They demand a ton from you, they want you to lock your tokens up for months, actively manage weird positions, and set alarms to click a claim button every Tuesday. ERAGE's pitch is so refreshingly simple. There's no staking, 0 lockups. Literally, holding the token in your wallet is the entire strategy. Because every network transaction out there is clicking the ratchet, it's quietly working in your favor without you needing to babysit a single thing. All right, Section 6, honest risks and recap. I want to slow down here for a second because my job is to make sure you have the full, honest picture. We respect you as a learner, so here is the straight-up reality of what you're holding. Number 1, the dollar price. Like we heavily stressed, the ratio rises, sure, but eShare and Rage are independent assets that can absolutely lose their market value, taking your dollar value down with them. Number 2, smart contracts. DeFi is a highly experimental space. It relies entirely on code, which means bugs, exploits, and completely unexpected events are always a real possibility. Number 3, the tax. Because of that 2.2% tax, rapid day trading is super expensive. A quick round trip means paying the tax twice. ERAGE is built to reward patient holding, not frantic flipping. And finally, activity. The ratchet runs entirely on transaction volume. Busy periods click it fast, quiet periods barely click it at all. It's a real system relying on real usage, not some magic money printer. Okay, let's firmly lock in everything we've learned today with 4 core takeaways. First, ERAGE is dual-backed by a smoothie of eShare and Rage. Second, a 2.2% tax on every mint and redeem is what physically clicks the ratchet forward. Third, no staking or locking is required, you just hold it. And fourth, our absolute golden rule. The ratchet raises the backing ratio, not the guaranteed dollar price. Now, before we sign off, I need to read our final disclaimer to you entirely verbatim. This explainer was for educational purposes only and is not financial advice. ERAGE is an experimental decentralized finance protocol. The ratchet mechanism raises the backing ratio, the quantity of eShare and Rage per token, but it does not guarantee any dollar price. eShare and Rage are independent assets whose market prices can fall, which means an ERAGE position can lose dollar value even as its backing ratio rises. Smart contracts carry risk of bugs and exploits. Never invest more than you could afford to lose, and always do your own research before participating in any DeFi protocol. And that is a wrap on part 1. But trust me, the story definitely doesn't end here. What if I told you that other people actively exploiting the system for their own profit is exactly what makes your bag more valuable? Crazy, right? Well, in part 2, we're going to dive into the blue, green, and red zones. We'll look at how sharp users earn instant arbitrage profits and how that exact same arbitrage actively strengthens the protocol for all the holders. Thanks so much for joining me today. Keep learning, and I'll see you in part 2.